Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we're going to be talking about poll priorities, as I like to try and do about once every month, and since Make a New Track is going to be dropping at the beginning of next month, I thought we'd go ahead and just focus in on all of the Make a New Track ones, and I'll try and talk about more than just the highest priorities, as there are some notable ones in there you might want to think about, especially when it comes to borrowing, as we're going to start seeing a little bit more of those cards that are very niche, but they're very strong for the niche they have, meaning you probably don't want to ever pull for them, but they could be very useful on specific tracks as a borrow card. And so with that, we're going to be starting from the right now and then just going all the way through Make a New Track. And we'll be covering support cards as well as Umas as we go through this. Now, I will not be hitting every single thing up, as there is going to be a lot of stuff that you're easily going to be able to skip. Now, when it comes to the Umas, that also just means if it's an Oshi of yours, of course, you're going to want to pull them. I'm not going to be able to cover every single one of them through this video. I don't want to make it a 1 to 2 hour long video. But just know, if they are a favorite, you can make any Uma in this game work with the right setup. And so with that, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So starting right off the bat, our last banners before we have the first anniversary banners going into Make a New Track / now called Trackblazer, is going to be the Admire Vega and the Fine Motion Kawakami Princess banner. Admire Vega has not really all that much going for her in terms of competing with some of the other meta options when it comes to your end closers. But, and she has the big negative of not being able to use the Admire Vega Guts card or the Power card, which the Power card has Daring Strike. Now, when we have Mr. CB come out, which is a card we'll be covering here soon, that also has it, which she can use. But other than that, she really doesn't have all that much going on for her. Now, with the Fine Motion Kawakami Princess banner, this is our first rerun of Fine Motion, so anyone that has just not been lucky to get her off of off banner, this is going to be your first opportunity to try and go ahead and pull for her. Very strong. She's one of the top 3, as you probably hear from everybody. Kita-san Black being the number 1 that you should have hopefully pulled if you've been playing since start and have MLB at this point. And Fine Motion I would put as the number 2 best card to have. Super Creek being the 3rd, but Super Creek is more situational because it's a stamina card and it's going to be useless in the miles, and even potentially some of the mediums depending on the Uma you're building and your setup with your sparks. And Fine Motion is just universally good, has a 10% race bonus, and if you have that card, even at Limit Break 3, she's going to be completely usable in all of the CMs all the way through Trackblazer. And so this is going to be a great time to pull her up. Now, there is the opportunity cost that down the line she does rerun alongside another meta card, Maruzensky Summer, which both of them will still continue to have a lot of value at this point forward. Now, you'll hear a lot of people saying she's going to get power crept by Major Romanu, and then we're going to have more niche race-specific cards come out that you'll pair with Major Romanu, where Fine Motion kind of falls off, which is, I think, like a year from this point. But it doesn't mean that she's completely useless. One thing with, like, if you're, especially for free-to-play, you're always going to be behind a little bit on some cards. It's going to be very hard to kind of always have all the meta cards MLB, as you've probably already seen from the start of the game. And so even if you wait to this point, she will continue to be very good for you for quite a while, as long as you're kind of using your carrots very well. But I would say this is going to be a great banner to pull on, as the only other big one that's kind of close-ish to this one, which we'll be going over here next, is going to be Kita-san Black for your front-running. Not only is she going to be very strong herself as your front-runner on longs, but she is going to be the Seiyun Sky of longs, having a very good acceleration to inherit on any other front-runners, like your Mihono Bourbon. And so, very good banner. Now, we will be getting free pulls on this one as well, which makes it even more reason to want to pull on this one, because after the free pulls, you basically have gotten a discount to get all the way to pity. So if it's a banner you have to pity on, you're not having to do a full 30,000 carats. Now, it's one of those situations, too, where you can just wait out the free pulls. If you don't get her in the free pulls, then pull all the way to pity. That is exactly what I will be doing. So I won't have Kita-san Black immediately, at least not until that banner finishes, but going to be one of your tops for your long front runners. And then right after that, we have the NTR banner, or the Narita Top Road, alongside the other card that everybody wants to get, which is Admire Vega Guts. Now, I'll be making a dedicated video on this banner, but this one to me is going to be a very easy skip. I mean, Narita Top Road being a consistent, strong speed card for Trackblazer is good, but that it's going to just fall off immediately after. And you just have so many other options that can work just as well. Like, I'll probably be using my Kita-san Black enough as it is, just because Professor of Curvature is going to continue to be strong, even at the sacrifice of 5 race bonus. Now, Admire Vega Guts is kind of the tricky one on that aspect, and I'm still debating myself. Like, I really want this card for the Guts build, but you have the problem of you cannot pity an SR card. And if you actually use the simulator in here, you can show that this card can royally screw you, because unlike an SSR where you can at least pity it at 200 pulls, this one you cannot, and you can go to 400 pulls without getting it. And I've done in the simulator on like multiple times practicing it, where I actually MLB Narita Top Road before I MLB Admire Vega, or get 3 copies, because you only need 3 copies if you've been saving your SR crystals. So for a majority of people, this is going to be an easy skip. While Admire Vega Guts is very strong, Guts build is going to be a very high rolling build, and it's very possible to still work around it with some of the other Guts cards that have a speed bonus built into them. But with that one, very easy skip in my opinion, and just save those carrots for some of these other big things that are coming up. Now, pretty much going through here, you have some easier skips all the way up into Sayun Sky Ballroom. Now, she is going to be kind of like another Kita-san Black in that she has a very strong, not only herself, she has a strong ult that activates same timing as Kita-san Black. Perfect timing on all your long races that you'll kind of pair with hers as your long frontrunner inherit. Not as strong as Kita-san Black's, but still relevant enough to make you want to pull for it for long frontrunners, but not as necessary in that case. And then the nice thing is she is she is going to be coming alongside Fujiki Seki Ballroom as well. I don't think she's all that good when I've looked at her, but hey, getting extra new Umas is always great. So I love these double banners when one of them paired with it's very strong. From here, you can kind of skip this one. Then you have Nishino Flower, which she's going to be kind of like a Major Orion to a certain extent, but for paces, giving you an ult that is very strong for pace chasers on some tracks. So definitely a big pickup there if you like running your paces. If you don't get her here, she's going to be one that you'll want to definitely try and pick up down the line with a selector, or when we get the ability to do daily legend races. And from here, you can kind of just skip these ones. You have the Ines Fujin and Twin Turbo Speed rerun. Now, you've probably heard, if you've heard me talk, I'm like one of the only people that really talks about Ines Fujin as a Guts card, as most people probably do not have this one MLB or even close to it. Now, it's been a card that's been available since day one, so if you've pulled enough on support banners, you may be in my situation where you have Limit Break 3 or even Limit Break 4. A Guts card that is very good for your frontrunners, has a heal built into it, has speed bonus, and at least has 5% race bonus, and so very strong for Guts build on your frontrunners. Now, it's really going to fall off pretty much after this one, and realistically, I would not pull for it. Twin Turbo Speed, I mean, I guess if you really want to get it on your Mihono Bourbon Valentine, she's your only option, but definitely not worth it. It's just, these are notable cards, in my opinion, and if you're willing to whale out for her for the last however many CMs are left after it to do with the Guts build, this will be your chance, but that's a very whale situation there. Then we have the Cheerleader banner with Nice Nature and King Halo Cheerleader. Nice Nature is kind of the more notable one here, having an okay inherit for a gamble speed carryover for sprints. Not as important as a lot of others, but if you're one of those people that's trying to pick up a bunch of Umas and you just like to get a lot of the ones that have decent inherits, kind of like you think with Mummy Creek, which is a little bit more niche for the sprints, she's going to be kind of in that same situation. Going to the next banner, neither one of these are all that notable. I will say I have looking into Bamboo Memory here. If you're doing Guts build for the upcoming The Mile Champions meeting that'll be coming up right after this one, this will be a good one to pair into your Guts build. Very solid. But other than that, this card's not really all that good. Kind of the same thing with Seeking the Pearl Speed. You've already got so many other better options, and it's what's going to be an easy skip. Especially, and then you can kind of skip Ines Fujin. unless you want her. And then after that, you have another big one, Mr. CB Wit. This one being a fairly solid wit card for your end closers. And if you like doing end closers at all, it's pretty much a big pickup. Nice thing about it is that you only really need a limit break 1 to get everything you want out of it. You're only losing out on mood effect. And then if you actually look at the difference between limit break 1 and max limit break on everything else, it really doesn't change anything. You still have 5% race bonus right off the bat. You have 5% race bonus. You have hint level 2 with hint frequency 33. Still have your speed bonus. Your training effectiveness doesn't get any better with it. You get a little bit more on the initial friendship gauge, taking it from 16 to 20. Friendship going from 26 to 30. I mean, it's wit coverage to 4 to 5. It's so minor that just getting it to limit break 1 to unlock wit bonus, and you're good to go. Her big thing being Daring Strike. If you like end closers, a must pick up, in my opinion. It's going to be similar to, for frontrunners wanting your speed Summer Ruzensky. And then after that, we have, we can kind of skip that one. This one's just a rerun of Rice Shower Power, which at this point is completely fallen off. And we're getting more towards, like, we already have been in Trackblazer for a little while now. We're starting to get, I think we're like halfway through it. So the Fuku card's just, in my opinion, falling off to the point that this is not a time to pull for her. And yes, while she can be used in Grand Live and she still has some value later, I feel like there's just, all the other speed cards are just superior in every way, that this one's an easy skip. You then have the next one after this one. It's a very niche Uma here. Now, I find both of these Umas are going to be pretty good. Kind of looking at Find Motion here. Find Motion has... now, I haven't really looked in depth, and when I actually cover this banner, I'll kind of look at the tracks that she's going to work the best on. But she does have a Gamble Potential Excel Speed carryover for mediums, it looks like, mostly. And it looks like the timing is going to be similar to Maruzensky on her. So I feel like she'll be pretty decent if you pick her up. But the main reason I would actually pull on this banner is going to be Current Chan Wedding. Now, she's going to be very niche on the track that she's going to be very, very strong for. And that is, she's a sprinter that has a built-in acceleration that can activate at 350 meters. Now, with the current sprints at 1200, it's actually 400 meters where it's going to be the biggest. But if we have a 1,000-meter track that we race on, which there is one time that we do it, that we know of going into the future. Now, it's not during a Champions meeting, it's actually a League of Heroes. But that one will activate just right about at that 350-meter mark, and she will be very, very strong for it. Having that acceleration to have her basically have a very consistent takeoff there. And so while it is very, very situational, I'll have to kind of look at the timing of when that League of Heroes is actually going to come out, because she is a potential using a selector. So buying the selector on whether it's the 2nd anniversary or whatnot, buying that and then making her your choice. So that you'll have her available for that League of Heroes. Because other than that, she's not really all that strong. I think I would probably put her above the normal Current Chan, because even though it's a late acceleration, it's still a very strong acceleration plus speed increase on the normal CM sprints. But still, just kind of notable there. Nothing too crazy here. We come then to the next big one, and this is one I think a lot of people are going to want to pick up now that you've probably started. You're building your Umas for Aquarius Cup, and you're like, man, I don't really have dirt Umas. I didn't pick up Digitan, or I don't have Smart Falcon. This is going to be your end closer that's good for dirt. And she's not only just good at dirt, she's just like a Digitan, good at turf and dirt. And she is kind of built around being good in both of them with her skills. And what's really nice is she has Tail 9. So very good mid-race skill. She has a heal that is specific to dirt, which kind of sucks that it's specific to dirt, but it is a heal that has a built-in speed increase. So this is like almost getting the same heal that we'll get with a much later card, Air Shocker, that is a mid-race skill that heals but also has speed increase. But she already has it right off the bat for dirts. Now, it does require her to be at the back of the race, which on the dirts I feel like won't be too much of a problem. And for long, she does have straightaway spurt built in. So with Tail 9 and straightaway spurt, she is going to be very strong for your longs as well. Although I will say there's a future version of her that I would put way above this one in that aspect, just because this one goes to waste on longs because there is no long dirts. And so very, very nice for having a back ender for your dirts. And like I said, the only reason that I would kind of hesitate on her, especially if you want someone for longs versus dirts, is when the festival banner comes out later in the year. This Inari one, not only is she on there, she's paired with a Tamamo Cross that's a pace chasing styled Tamamo Cross, but this one is even better for longs in that everything works for it. She has Encroaching Shadow versus only Straightaway Spurt, as well as Innate Experience, which is a very strong, if you've probably seen it on Christmas Ogre Cap, if you built her for the Libra Cup, or not Libra Cup, the Arima Keenan Sagittarius Cup, very, very strong speed skill at the end. And one of the nice things on her that you don't really see on the other ones that have Encroaching Shadow is the evolution, just to take note of it, is most of them for Encroaching Shadow, like Mr. CB and Rita Taishin that have Encroaching Shadow, their evolution only gives this field of view. She has actually a second evolution for it that instead of giving field of view, which is absolutely garbage, she actually has a built-in, it'll have a built-in speed increase. So first you get the acceleration right as your launch, or right as you hit on the late race, and then a little bit later you will get a speed increase, like another mini innate experience. So very, very strong. And if you just want to get one copy of her and you already kind of have your dirts settled, I feel like this one is the better one to go, making the original an easy skip, in my opinion. Now, if you need both, I mean, just get both of them. She'll be your dirt one, and then the other one can be your long. So if she's an Oshi, you're going to be eating good by having both of them. And you can kind of go through here, kind of skip here, just another repeat banner. We have Sweep Tosho coming. Nothing too much on her. The biggest thing for her that's coming is she has the first occurrence of seeing this skill, Restraint. And so Restraint is a green skill that reduces your rush chance. And we're not going to actually see this available, I believe, until we have the Sweep Tosho Wit card come out. And so if you want to get this built in, especially for like that Sweep Tosho that you like the ability the people that have abilities that don't want you to get rushed, and the Major Dober alt is kind of the biggest one to note for that. You'll want to try and get this built into your parents and grandparents, and she's going to be the only one that can kind of get it started. So if you don't have her, you either have to borrow to try and get it off of her, or you have to wait till her Wit card comes out, which is what I'm pretty much going to do at that point. But it's just the notable thing about her. And she's just an end closer. She has a debuff with Petrifying Gaze that is... it's not the entire field like we see with Mystifying Murmur on mediums, but it can activate in longs. It's not going to cover everybody. After that, we have the Tiki Shuttle SSR Speed card. This one's kind of notable in that I would not pull for it, but very, very decent borrow if you have really strong cards overall for Miles. As this basically is Tiki Shuttle. You can basically build Tiki Shuttle's kit onto any other Umas because it has literally everything in her kit. You have the gold Mile Maven, which right now this is the only support card that gives it even to this day in JP. You have Speed Eater, you have Shifting Gears, Mile Straightaways, Mile Corners, Productive Plan, Wet Conditions. Like if you want to take any of your front runners or even pace chasers that may not have a lot of natural good mile skills in them, and you don't have Tiki Shuttle, or you don't want to use Tiki Shuttle, you pretty much have her entire kit built into this card, other than her ult. I mean, her ult's very strong for miles in general, but this has everything else that you could want for your milers. Definitely not a pull. To me, it's too situational and niche that it's a borrow and use that to get it on the specific situations on those mile races. One thing we're going to start seeing with a lot of support cards down the line is they're going to be getting more and more racetrack / distance specific, and so it'll be a little bit more tricky on which ones you pull depending on what you want to specialize in. And I feel like the strategy ones will be more important because those ones you can tailor around all the distances versus the distance ones. With that, you have Tiki Shuttle Camping and Dober. I don't really feel like either of these are much better than their originals. I mean, the Dober one having a good inherit, Tiki Shuttle's alt being very good on miles. This Tiki Shuttle, I actually like her kit, just general better. It still has Mile Maven, but it has the golden version of Head On, so a very strong gamble on it now. But the alt, in my opinion, is not as good as the normal Tiki Shuttles. And so to me, I skip that one just for that fact alone, because her alt has that acceleration that can have carryover, which is very good. Kind of continue on, nothing too crazy here. We are coming up to the rerun of Seiyun Sky after that. The Seiyun Sky one, if you don't have her, this is why for the selector, I've kind of advised that if Seiyun Sky is one of the Umas that you do need, you could maybe get the selector, but don't use it right off the bat and kind of see where your luck lands on these other banners. And if you get really lucky and you just have the carrots, the pity of Seiyun Sky here, I feel like this is a very strong banner to do it. Narita Bryan still being a good alt inherit on certain tracks, and then Seiyun Sky, you can go all the way to pity and get her right here. And then you can use that selector and maybe something else that is kind of meta that you need. So you have that, and then right after it, we have the biggest bait banner there is, the Thrones Assemblage. This card is the strongest card for Make a New Track or Trackblazer. Problem is, we only have 2 more Champions meetings after this point, and so you're not going to get a lot of value out of it, and this card just completely falls off after Throne, or after Trackblazer. So what you're going to want to do is, once this banner comes, should be your permanent borrow. This is going to be the card you're going to want to borrow for the next 2 Champions meetings. So if you're someone like me who might have Fuku as their main borrow, I'm going to have to shift that out and take Throne as my borrow, and then use something else like Biko Pegasus or whatnot, because it's definitely not worth it to whale on this card. And then right after that, we have the Summer banners. And so this one has the notable big one here on the Uma is going to be Gold Ship Summer. She has a very good Team Trials ult, and it's very simple in the fact that it activates a random gold in the second half of the race. Now, for herself, she activates 2 random golds, which can, if you like to do shenanigans, you can build her as a debuffer that could say bring Mystifying Murmur to a long race, alongside, or you can bring Dominator to a long race, and just do shenanigans there. But it's overall very good for team trials because any gold activation is worth a lot of points, and this is going to be able to get you that. If you don't get her here, you'll definitely want to get her down the line just for your team trials, to kind of, especially if you're trying like me and trying to keep yourself in rank 6. She's going to be one of those ones that's going to kind of elevate you up pretty well. And then after that, you have the big one with Summer Muruzensky. Now, I already mentioned she does have a rerun alongside Find Motion. So if you don't plan to run any front runners up through the rerun, which isn't that far away, it's like 3 or 4 Champions meetings later. If you're not going to do any front runners in any of those up to this one, to me, if you don't have Find Motion MLB, very good shot that you just skip all the way up to this to get it. But if you do plan to run front runners, which I know a lot of people will be, very strong front runner skill, has the golden version of Leader's Pride, plus a bunch of other good front runner stuff built into the card. And so this is a good banner pull. Now the Nakayama Festa Wit card is not all that good, and it's got a very gambly gold, which has a big speed increase, but it's only 1.8 seconds. But potential to give you a massive stamina drain. And so I wouldn't consider that one all too good. But Summer Muruzensky is one you don't have to pull heavily on. Just like Mr. CB, you only really need a Limit Break 1. You're only losing on a mood effect. You got the power bonus activated with Limit Break 1. And very minimal change throughout the card. Now, the biggest part that's going to be negative at Limit Break 1 is race bonus only being 2%. You have to push it up all the way to get the 5%. Well, at least Limit Break 3 to get to 5%. But we're at the very tail end of Trackblazer at this point. So you're not going to have to worry too much about it since we're about to fall off of it at this. So Limit Break 1, and you should be good to go from that point. And then after that, you have kind of easier skip. Then you have the big Dirt Uma. Like, Inari 1's a good one for your back ends. Now for your front end, Corpano Ricky is the Dirt Queen. And she continues to be very strong for them. Now, she's going to be one of those ones, if you're annoyed with trying to get your 3 greens for your front runners, she's going to annoy you even more as she wants 6 greens because she activates this special scaling based on how many green skills she's activated at the beginning of the race. Up to 6, which brings it up to 0.3 on the speed and the acceleration. But she already has a bunch built in. Now you can kind of go with pace or front on her, but she has pace green built in alongside a 2 dirt specific greens. So you can have 3 right off the bat right there. Then you still have to struggle to get the other ones. But if you want to be very strong on dirts, if you're already seeing how strong Smart Falcon is on Aquarius Cup, she's going to be the super power creep to her for future dirts. So very good. And then after that, you can kind of skip here. This one is another Manhattan Cafe stamina card. And then we have the final banner we're going to talk about, which is going into Grand Live. You have Smart Falcon Grand Live. Now, I've heard some debate on whether or not she's better than the current Smart Falcon. Now, the current one's very strong, as you already know, defending the lead, getting into the lead in the straightaway. And if you've got the lead in that straightaway, it's much harder on those miles to pass for everybody else. Now, there are dirt mediums where I think Smart Falcon will be a little bit weaker, the original. But this one I find will has a lot, it has trending the charts and aim from the center gold. The ult to me is not as good, but everything else in her kit's just as good. And this is still, it's a nice speed skill that has a recovery for your dirt. So now you can go all in on her stats. I will say I don't like her stat bonuses compared to the original. But if you don't have the original, she is still another good pickup. But as I've already said, you have Corpano Ricky right before her. And Corpano Ricky is so much better. She's going to continue to be very strong and the one that I would pick up. And you don't really want to spend carrots here anyway at this point because this is going to be the big banner. This one is bigger and more important than the Rico Rice Shower banner for Unity Cup was. Pretty much becomes mandatory to have a copy of this card at a minimum. And that is because future PAL cards at this point forward start having actual interactions with the scenarios that if you don't have the interaction, you're just going to be so far behind in the ability to get your stat sticks. And we'll go more into details on specifically how she works within the scenario as we get closer. Just know, unlike Rico, who's just very strong for the stat stick on stamina and guts for Unity, she's going to be mandatory for the in-game mechanics. Very big buffs that she'll give you. And then also she is paired. And the nice thing is, and this is what we'll see with a lot of the PAL cards in the future, is they do get paired with fairly decent cards. Rice Shower Power was a decent card until we got the early first anniversary that kind of neutered her value. But now we have the Agnes Tachyon speed card. And so very good card, going to be your best in slot alongside Kita-san Black for Grand Live. And then continues to be pretty decent for your pace chasers from that point forward. She's going to be a link card for it. So this is definitely a banner I would pull quite heavily on, just because both cards on it are overall pretty good. Now, I know Agnes Tachyon does fall off after Grandmasters. So this is one where you may potentially just get your copy of Light Hello and just pull the gun and stop pulling on the banner to save for future ones. As going through Grand Live to me, now I'm not going to cover this banner. I kind of covered, if you want to see me talking about even more of these, you can look at my 2026 whole priority list as I went all the way through the entire year of 2026. But this is actually, Grand Live to me is going to be your carrot saving time. There are some big pickups in it, but nothing so crazy that I feel like a lot of people should be able to save a lot up for Grand Masters, which to me is where all the big hitters are. That is going to be the time when there's a lot of big, useful, but also situational cards. And if you can save up to 90k carrots, I think that is what you're going to kind of want through that point. So that might be a reason to only go for just get that copy of Light Hello and then walk away from this banner, especially if you're already strong on your speed cards. If you have Biko, Pegasus, Kita-san Black, you might be able to just continue using them You're losing the advantage that she gives as the link match, but saving carrots is going to be pretty important, especially for your free to play going into the future. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for pull priorities through the make a new Trackblazer. I keep saying make a new track and or Trackblazer. I keep switching both. That's the renaming of it. So really excited for this scenario. I feel like a lot of people should be able to save a decent amount through here because there's really nothing that's big must-have feeling. Like we've got a lot of our big hitters out of the way. You got Saiyan Sky, Major Dover. We had Christmas Ogre Cap. We have Valentine's Bourbon. Like all the big hitters. A lot of these ones that I've said are pretty good. Are still very skippable. Other than like Late Hello, unless you want to make that a permanent borrow. I think a lot of this can be skipped, and this is like carrot saving time for your free to plays ultimately. And like you don't need to get MLB of two of the big cards in here, which are going to be the Speed Maruzensky as well as the Mr. CB Wit. But that's going to be it for this video. And if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.